What's up, everybody? Mark with Card Box Academy here, and I've got Dane here on the channel. What's up, man?
What's up, dude? How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'm good. Like I told you, I'm exhausted, but I'm exhausted all the time. That's just how it goes. But I'm excited because we do, man. We do. I'm excited because, right now, I didn't tell you this because I wanted to save it for the actual video when we were recording, and it does show I'm recording in every place, so it should be good. I wanted to save it because right now I probably have 6 or 7 students with the pig mask.
No way.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's a lot. I've got it's just literally this influx. Well,
That's
the
insane.
album released in August. And so,
yeah.
Whenever there's a new album by a band, usually there's a surge of people who want to learn how to do this stuff. And yeah, they'll be like, dude, I've even got the mask. And it's a cool mask, high quality from what they say. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
So they're going to be stoked.
That's insane. It always just blows my mind that little bit when, all of this, but seeing people with the mask, crazy.
Yeah, dude. So they're going to be really excited.
You guys.
Hey, yeah. They'll be stoked that I do this, and I'm kind of stoked to do it too because, I feel like we had planned on doing this before, but you got sick, and then I got sick, and then something and whatever.
Yeah, I think we were in Europe at one point, and it was in my head before we went away, I was like, yeah, I'll just get it done on the bus, and then no reception in the French countryside or some shit. So it was hey, probably for the best.
Yeah. It's kind of a thing at this point where if I have a guest and they're like, oh, I'll just do it on the tour bus, I'm like, respectfully, no, you won't. Let's just not pretend we're gonna do that. But I love the gusto, I love the I love the gusto. But I'm actually kind of excited too because we pivoted last second. We were talking about the singles, and then you were like, well, DNA is much more the single. And I'm actually excited because legitimately I have not heard this one. I know.
That's cool.
One of the few downsides of my job. I really love my job, but one of the few downsides is I rarely pick what I want to listen to. Because usually I'm listening to stuff for the channel, or more often I'm listening to the music that my students are listening to kind of get an idea of their goals. So I'm very excited because this is legitimately, I've been getting a lot of these lately. First time reaction.
I love that.
So, and this is a longer one too, which is also good. 4.5 minutes. So that'll take us a good chunk of time. So talk to me about, this track. What can I expect? What sort of things are we doing here? Give us a quick elevator pitch for anybody who this is their first introduction to the Grave.
Of course. So on a lot of our records, we like to throw in a lot of songs with, as cohesive a structure as possible, and then a bunch without. So we're talking about a couple of the ones without, Show Them the Bodies, things like that. This one I really like because it feels and felt like when we were making it something that we would want to play, as far as we would push into the stadium deathcore sound without without going to Slaughter to Prevail, Lorna Shore kind of soundscapes. I don't know how else to explain that. So we're a big fan of evil choruses. And I remember there being a lot more of the toolbox thrown at this song in terms of all right, there's a couple of vocal effects that I haven't really used a couple of times, a couple of vocal techniques that this is the first time I've really tried them in a song. Really going for I think the first thing you'll hear can sound and it is drowned with effects, obviously, but in the studio was going for a Dimmu Borgir, Shawgroth.
Hell yeah.
That kind of spoken black metal-y vibe. I don't know, almost held in the throat type thing.
Yeah.
And I think this is the first song, sort of more of a beat down hardcore leaning thing, very intentional. This one felt like a deathcore song. And I think it's the first one truly that I threw almost entirely my new false chord range at. I've only picked that up in the past couple of years. So, I'm super proud of a lot of the things in this song.
Nice. That's exciting too.
Too much or too little.
No, that's perfect. That's more than I usually get. Most of the time it's you're going in blind, and I'm like, All right, analysis
Awesome.
muscles engage. Well, in that case, let's just hop right into it. Let's just go, and you know how this works. I'm gonna pause. Now I try to pause at bad moments. I legitimately try to go for it.
I'll let you know as well. There's a sample that plays over the blast beats at the start, so like it'll the lady's voice is not me as much as that'd be a cool other technique.
Hey, fair enough. Appreciate. Hey, yeah, I probably would have made a fool of myself too. I remember I did a video with Villanova, and their singer, he's got like this really he's got this like really beautiful tenor voice, and so I thought it was him singing. He's like, no, this is this woman we had, and I was like, well, hey, for somebody who loves to sing like this old like Marvin Gaye style stuff mixed with metal and was a beautiful tenor, I hope you take that as a compliment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, straight up.
That's probably a good thing. But all right, cool. Let's do it. Let's do DNA to the grave. Do not amputate. Here we go.
Let's do it.
Interesting. Well, I have to pause there because we're almost halfway through. But you know, it was interesting. We'll get to the vocals here in a second. But what's interesting is I hear like a couple different almost like genre influences here that may or may not have been intentional. Wow, probably to a degree, right? But we have like very like cattle decapitation-y blast incorporation. The vocal production after that sample of where we have like these distant like types of speaking feels very much, not very much, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of my favorite Veil of Nath record, Accursed, specifically the song Accursed. And then those chords that open up the song, that second chord, I don't know, I don't play guitar, so I couldn't tell you what it is. It almost feels like it doesn't sound like it here, but you could put that chord progression in a pop punk song and it would work. Right?
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
And so it's like I heard that and it was like very attention grabbing. And then the song started to pivot to metal and I was like, dang, that actually works pretty well. Like it could be in a pop punk song, but it's also in this song. So before we get to the vocals, I'm actually kind of just interested in that the influences that went into just the general songwriting so far, because it's definitely like a lot of things working together cohesively. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, nail on the head with Cattle Decapitation, man. We're all big fans of that band. Like specifically me, my favorite Cattle record, Anthropocene Extinction, has like, now that you mention it, yeah, a lot of that somber, sad kind of vibe, especially on the second half of that record, where we definitely do, maybe unintentionally at this point because it's so ingrained in us, try to throw that in there on some of these longer songs. Just like Jack, our guitarist who writes it all, yeah, he's a more of a wizard than he'd ever give himself credit for the melodic side of things. So yeah, he'll hand me a riff like that, and it's just like, fuck, man, do I let something like this breathe, or do I try to like it? It makes me want to do, yeah, more of the like, less of a deathcore thing, more of like a, I don't know, what can I throw at this to add my own melodic touch to it?
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, definitely.
Well, it's interesting too, because, you know, I'm hearing a lot of like the first word that comes to mind with your vocals is stretchiness, right? I'm hearing like stretchiness. So I'm hearing like we're in mids and we're opening up, and there was like, you know, obviously this is listening for the first time, so it, you know, I might be a little bit off base, but like we start with this mid and then it kind of stretches up into this,
Yeah.
and then we get some more pitch screams. So it's like throughout the intro, we're getting like this sort of steady progressive expansion of range a little bit on the screams as well, which I mean, you can tell me how intentional that was, but with longer intros like this, because Kardashev is no stranger to long intros and long outros, you have to progressively open up so it doesn't get boring, right? Was that what you were trying to do with these vocals here, or was it just like you were doing what sounds cool and that was kind of a happy accident? Because I make a lot of happy accidents in my music.
Like yeah, in all honesty, probably closer to a happy accident. But now that you mention it, yeah, I guess there's like I was saying about the false chord thing, where it's like I feel like it is I don't know, compared to like some of my older like fry techniques and shit like that, where you almost had to like if I'm doing a low, for example, I'm doing a low section, it's a complete reset internally to switch to like pig squeals or like the highs,
Sure.
you know, things like that. Whereas the false chord range, yeah, man, I feel like I don't know. I feel like I can just move up and down all along this technique and not really have to change much internally. It's just mouth shapes, tongue position, shit like that, you know?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about technique then, because that's one of the things that I hear a lot of. Like I said, I've got a good chunk of students right now that are fans of To the Grave. And so let's talk technique, because I think that, you know, I think that your tone, and I think that the way that you interact with your voice, you know, it has a uniqueness to it, right? And you also, like with a lot of your like you said, like your older fry tone, it's not like that like what some of my students call the YouTube fry. You know what I mean?
YouTube fry. Interesting.
Yeah, you know the if I was to mimic what you sometimes hear, it's like that, you know,
right?
You know, and that's the starting sound, which you can take that some cool directions, but it's not usually where a lot of people stay. So I'm kind of interested. I actually want to talk a little bit more about like the new false chord tone that you're using, because I feel like false chord is a term that has opened up a lot over these past few years, and it means a lot to a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Like the false chord that I do is a very traditional like death metal-y false chord that you'll also hear in like Black Tongue and things like that. And the false chord that you're doing here doesn't sound like the same stuff that I do. So talk to me about when you're doing your new false chord stuff. What does it feel like? How are you approaching it? What sort of switches are you using to turn the sound on?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I guess it started with and when I speak about like my fry tone, that is for lack of a better term. You know, I wouldn't really know what to call it.
Sure.
I can go through that as well but so when I used to do a bit more of that, and I still do every now and then, but I remember I'd get to like a chorus section or a bit that required more of for lack of a better word, hardcore approach, and I'd throw way more of my actual voice at it, right? Like almost like you're just yelling, because that's the hardcore kind of. That's the entry level hardcore thing. As like a deathcore kid, you go, all right, well, I'm just gonna yell and like
sure, whatever.
So then I remember when I was recording with one of my other band, Scourge, gone now, and there was a chorus kind of section, and it was like, all right, dude, try some yells and try to like sustain them and things like that. So I do that, and it's like shit, I can control that a bit more than I thought I could. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Then yeah. So then over time, I would just like there's reasons as to why I was influenced to do the false chord thing, but I feel like yeah. So to break it down and start with, you know, a yell, which isn't really a yell, just like the more I've learned how to control it, it's just throwing more of my voice at it,
Okay.
and then figuring out how to switch that distortion on, like, and yeah, I don't know. That part, I guess, is different every time. Like I feel my chest and my torso tense up, like when it, you know what I mean, when I go to apply that distortion.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure that sits in my diaphragm, and just like I don't know, yeah, I don't know.
It could be
So
it can be tough to describe. It can be tough to describe these things, especially when, you know, like I was mentioning, I've kind of come. It's not that new anymore. This is something I've mentioned in multiple videos up until now, but I've kind of come in to think of these terms, false chord and fry, as being like ingredients in recipes rather than final stopping points. You can absolutely just do a simple foundational false chord sound.
Yep.
But much of the time when you hear vocalists doing it, you know, it's an ingredient in other things. What's the difference in sensation? Yeah. What's the difference in sensation when you're doing something like, and when, you know, when you say, for lack of a better term, I totally vibe with that, because, you know, these terms change, they update over time. People start using them differently.
Yep.
So, you know, in all honesty, that kind of leads into my next question. Is I'm often, maybe I'm just old and jaded, man. I don't know. But the older I get, yeah, the less I'm interested in just trying to figure out what taxonomical word to put on it, and I'm more interested in what your experience is. What's your sensory experience? How does your false chord stuff feel? And how is that different from your fry stuff that you're doing? Because I feel like, you know, that older, I don't know if older is the right term, but that sound is very iconic to you. So I'm imagining that there are definitely some sensory differences that you're feeling.
Big time, yeah. So the other older tone, whatever, it definitely was the first thing that I ever picked up on as a vocalist. Like it's the that I don't know. It feels like it's almost entirely like it starts in my throat, and yeah, so I can feel that distortion kind of coming from my throat. And I always thought that was normal. I guess I've never had I don't drive, bad reasons for that. So I've never had a car or much of a space where I could sit there and practice and be loud. I could only ever really experiment in the studios or whatever. So this would be me almost like walking to school back in the day, listening to like Whitechapel, trying to recreate these sounds. And then, so yeah, to answer your question, that ended up in it just being more of a, feels like it's all in my throat. It's after a while, especially when we play like hour-long sets or whatever, it felt more unreliable, more of an inconsistent thing. On top of the fact that like I'd have to push a little harder if I wanted to turn that into like a consistent like exhale, pig squeal, like kind of thing. And I always felt the ceiling on that, because it's yeah, I don't know. So that's why a lot of people really like the older inhale, well, it is inhale, pig squeals and shit that I do, because those were and again, I fucking hate doing them these days because it just feels shit to do. Like it's so unreliable. I could be like, all right, here we go, and it just sounds fucking terrible. So like, or it sounds awesome, and then people go, wow, do that more. And I wish it was more of a something I could rely on and something that came out of me with less struggle. I remember doing like I throw the inhale tones and shit in there because like that is, I guess, a part of the older vocal vibe, what everyone kind of really liked on that first couple of records. But yeah, I remember after a while of that, I get this fucking headache. Um, yeah, and it was just more unreliable. So like compared to the false chord now, where it comes out of me so naturally, I've uh definitely feel my torso tense up, my fucking don't have any kind of stress in my head or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question entirely, but like the older
Hmm.
thing for sure felt more of a like there was a ceiling on it, and I always felt like I was doing something that sounded cool, maybe in the moment, uh, wasn't something sustainable, wasn't something I really enjoyed trying to tell people to do because of how I know it felt to do. Like
Sure.
the like for a guttural, right? I just picture my vocal folds going like, what the fuck is happening? Or like, you know what I mean? Again, I have no idea of anatomy or anything like that, but I just picture something inside of me stressing the fuck out.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that, and this is just there's no way we're going to be able to fix it. So it's not worth even in trying. But unfortunately, Zoom is giving your voice the kibosh right now. So I can't hear it. I hear like the first split second and then it gets muted. If I could hear it, trust me, if we try to troubleshoot it, it'll take 20 minutes and it still won't work.
Right.
You know, but I could give you more insight if I could hear it, and if I could hear it more clearly. But
Yeah. I guess
was that
most of the first 30 seconds of Eco Side, I know you did the reaction to that,
Mhm.
is all that older tone. Like it switches
Yeah.
to the inhale for the buzzsaw thing.
Mhm.
The very first thing is that like, I guess Bozeman kind of low that I would try to replicate. So that's that.
Sure.
That's what I'm trying to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that, one of the main reasons that you started exploring these different tones, like a comfort and control sort of situation? You were like, I just needed to change things up.
Yeah, primarily, yeah. I there were very pivotal moments touring with some of these like crazier bands, and just
Mm.
seeing how their vocalists operated, and I was like, holy fuck, I need to go back to the drawing board. And that's why I'm super proud now that I have if anybody comes to the Grave show, they never leave going, I'm convinced, unless somebody wants to tell me otherwise. I'm pretty sure nobody leaves going like, oh, it doesn't sound as heavy, as consistent, as he doesn't have those tones. Like I've really tried to adapt everything into this new tone, new technique. So yeah,
Sure.
big time control is a
Sure.
big factor.
Well, I mean, and the thing about it is it still sounds cool. Like it still sounds great. Like, and it still sounds identifiable. Like, I did listen to I think most of the singles y'all dropped. And it still sounds like To the Grave. It still sounds like, and that's because, one thing that I talk with my students a lot about is our voice isn't just the way that we're creating the distortion, right? It's the way that it resonates with inside of our head. And so even if you're changing the source of the sound, right, it's still going through a lot of the same shapes, like you mentioned earlier, tongue positions and things. That still sound more identifiably you, right? And so that's pretty interesting. I've got some more questions about that, but let's listen to some more of this track here. Let's keep going.
Sure.
And then what is my mouse? All right, here we go. Let's go ahead. Oh yeah, we're just barely halfway through. We're fine. We got plenty of time, dude. Here we go.
So good.
Now, I would probably have, a lot of angry comments if I had you on the channel. I didn't ask about pig squeals, especially especially because, you know, for me, like a lot of this is because like Kardashev has no room for pig squeals. There's no that ain't what we're doing, you know. And so
Right.
as a result, like my pig squeals, like I can pop out a pretty decent pig squeal, you know, and I certainly can teach them
Oh
pretty
yeah.
well, but like it is far from my specialty. So, you know, a lot and a lot of my students will be like, yo, help me do pig squeals. And we do, but
Mhm.
I can guarantee you that if any of them are watching it, they're like, Mark, ask him about pig squeals, ask him about pig squeals. So talk to me about, you
Ask
know,
away.
how you learned it, how you figured it out, what sort of tongue positions you use, things like this. I hear a lot of like maybe out of the side of the mouth. Maybe I'm wrong. You tell me.
Spot on, actually. Yeah, it's
Hell yeah.
I think so. In application purely, yeah, definitely. Like what I tell people all the time, as I've tried to teach people, it's it's harder than you'd think to like translate I'm sure you get it completely, right? Like
Yes, I
get
do.
into somebody's head and their
Yeah.
throat and see what the hell's happening. But I know my tongue is just slammed into the roof of my mouth. Usually, and this false chord technique, that's what I tell people as well. If you can wrap your head around some sort of like false chord, that amount of control over your voice is such a good starting point for this. Purely because you've got your pretty consistent, like it's just your voice with that, like, you know, your voice, the distortion, and then like the tongue to the roof of your mouth, purse your lips, whatever, like,
Mhm.
but yeah, man, like lately, definitely feeling like, I mean, especially live, if I want to keep it consistent or whatever, like there's something Dave taught me from Sons of the Swarm, where he was like, you want to go to about 60% with a lot of these things, right? And then like in most cases, like you never want to go 100%, unless it's like it's unintentional, you're in the moment, whatever, things like that. But never
Sure.
start there. So a good 60%, and then especially with the in-ears or whatever, you'll be like, it sounds super natural and raw. Everything gets carried over at the sound desk, and you know, like a bit of gain, this and that. So like the crowd
Yeah,
hears
totally.
something entirely different.
Totally.
But yeah, man, I don't know if that answers your question. It's that one's super hard because I have such an easy time now doing, and that was kind of why I did that section. I was just like, I'm happy to, for lack of a better word, flex the pig squeals now because
Sure.
they come out
Yeah.
of me. Yeah, they come out of me super easy. Um, that whole the in the chorus where I just like, it's a low thing, and then I could quickly pivot up to turn it into a squeal.
Hmm.
Is literally just like I know the sound's gonna cut the fuck out, but
Yeah.
yeah, like throw a low, and then all I'm doing is my tongue can just slam to the roof of my mouth, change my mouth shape slightly, and it turns into a pig squeal. I mean, if anybody ever wants to grab me in person, this is why I'm like, I never used to be like this. I never used to be so open about like showing people stuff in person or whatever. It was just a bit of a nightmare, especially with the inconsistency. You had to preface like, all right, this may suck, bear with me, especially after a set or whatever. Now, if anybody's curious and you ever see me in person, you want to hear one in person, see what my mouth's doing,
Hmm.
it's almost anticlimactic because there's no visible trick, I think, with it. It's yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know if that helps.
Well, you know, tongue up to the roof of the mouth. That's a really common way to do it. And I say common. I've never spoken with a metal vocalist who doesn't utilize some sort of upward turn, some sort of retroflex motion of the tip of the tongue. And the only reason I say that it's a way to do it is because, you know, what we can hear, you know, you especially hit it really strong because you've been doing this for a while, even with your clean singing voices, overtones, like overtone singing. And while I'm aware that there are different ways to do overtone singing, I am not an overtone singing expert. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I am, but I imagine you could incorporate those with screams as well. But, you know, when you talk about the roof of your mouth, that's a wide space. So if you were to like get your tongue in the position of doing one of these pig squeals, do you feel hard bone? Do you feel soft tissue, or do you feel a little of both?
I guess it's, for the most part, it'd be right behind where where you start to feel your mouth turn into teeth. I don't know how else to explain it. So it feels hard. Um, yeah, you should still be able to like see most of my tongue when I'm doing it. So right up there behind my teeth, not touching my teeth. So like right up where your mouth starts to curve down into a really hard bone and stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling.
Does it feel bumpy? And does it feel bumpy, or does it feel smooth?
I feel the almost feels like, I don't know if you know, if anybody else's mouth is the same, but like across the roof of your mouth, there's like a seam down the center. It almost feels like maybe it could be where things like curve in a little bit, but that's what I'm feeling. So like right up, not bumpy, but a bump. Yeah, like a, yeah.
It sounds like, and I'd have to see to be sure, but it sounds like you're on like the potentially the border, maybe more so on what's called the alveolar ridge, which is that big bumpy spot behind the top teeth.
Right.
I remember back when I was working on my speech therapy undergrad, the master's students, they had this shirt that said, we ski the alveolar ridge. And they thought that was very clever. And I couldn't lie. I kind of thought it was a little funny too. They had some other, speech therapists, we know how to make you talk. I don't know if they invented those jokes, but I certainly remember them. And it's interesting too, because, for me, when I do anything with overtones, which again, I just do for fun in my car, I'm not like trying to work them into music, not yet.
Yep.
But I pull it back a little farther. So I'm like, I'm a little bit more straight up. But between you and me, you got the stronger pig squeals. So maybe I should probably start doing it like you. You know what I mean? I should probably start. I'm just trying to be like you, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, bro. Well, it's funny you mentioned like overtone singing or whatever. First time I've actually heard that term, but what you're doing sounds a lot like, when I try to teach people a little bit of what I do, that's the simplest I can break it down, is where it's like, look, you want to have not even a strong enough, but like you just want to have an understanding of what your voice can do. And like it might sound stupid because it's not like there's no distortion on it or whatever, but the whole like like that,
oh yeah, dude,
is the base of it, right? And then if you can throw distortion and then power onto that, you've got deathcore vocals to me.
Well, I also, sorry if you heard the ice cream truck. The ice cream truck went by just now, which is such a strange time for it to go by, but whatever. So, but that's, that's something I advise a lot of my students to work on, which is, if you're trying to do like a tunnel or a pig squeal or a guttural, do it without distortion first.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, whoa,
yeah.
Or, and then like, you said it just fine. You said it best. If you can throw some distortion on that, then you're getting somewhere.
Exactly.
And that's a really good way to do it. One thing let me not hit my microphone. Making that switch to these looser, more false chord influenced. I wish I could hear you doing it right here, because I guarantee that there are going to be people who are going to be like, that's not false chord. But
I should probably do a one take or something. That's been something in the in the bag to do for a minute, but like that, who knows? They could be right again. That's why I prefaced everything, for lack of better terms. I don't know, man.
But when you were making this switch, was a lot of it just sort of like playing around, kind of, I don't know if you felt like you were reinventing the wheel, but learning how to do things in a different way? Were you using mostly your clean voice and then adding distortion to it? How did you make that switch to doing something new, but doing it reliably, that you could take on tour, that you could take to the studio?
Yeah, good question. So I look at those pivotal moments where I was like, recording my yells, and then over time realizing that like I had more control over that than I thought I would. Like, for example, pulling back on the hard I don't want to just start yelling. I'm in an apartment, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, sure.
so I would do things like that. Like I'd just be straight yelling, almost like a way I would describe it to people is like, imagine somebody is like fucking riding off with your push bike. How do you yell at them to get their attention, to kind of like strike fear into the heart of that person? You know what I mean?
Totally.
You put a bit of like, hey, way, like, so I would, my cat just lost his shit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it was more of that, like, how do I say it? Almost if you're doing like mimicking a, I don't know, evil villain voice, you'd like, hey, hey, you know that like it almost starts in your throat.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then seeing how I could fuck with that and flex that around a little bit. So just realizing that, like, okay, if I'm yelling or like using way more of my voice, you know what I mean? The distortion can come a little more naturally than I'd been doing it, which is that like yell at the guy on your push bike type vibe, which is like almost 100% full send. And then yeah, so like the switch is, I guess, how do I say it? Like I remember when we toured with Shadow of Intent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just walking down the street with Ben, asking him about his technique, and he was like, "Oh yeah, dude, false chord, like," and then just ripped it in the street, and it was like, fuck me, if you were in the car like 2 lanes over with your windows up, you would have heard it. And it was just the most insane thing I'd ever heard. So I was like, I need to be able to get that amount of control over such a fucking loud thing. So yeah, I kind of run away from the question a little bit, but yeah, sorry.
You know what though? Don't even worry about it, because 90% of the comments that I get in these videos, people are most interested in the ranty things. And I'm a ranter, dude. I am a long-winded ranty fella. That's where all the meat is. That's where the interesting stuff is, in those sidetracks and the rants, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's a cool little to the grave trivia nugget. You got some inspiration walking around the sidewalk of the streets with Ben Dor. Like, that's a cool little nugget. People wouldn't have known that if you had stuck to the question, right? So who cares?
True. Feel free to always put me back on rails if you need an answer more specifically, because I'm sure I can dig it up. It's just, yeah.
Nah, never will. Never will. Because like I said, honestly, that's usually where the most interesting stuff is. Yeah, I used to think about that when I did these videos. I was like, oh, I got to keep things on track. But the interviews got better when I just sort of followed the guest versus leading the guest.
Right.
But I think that you know, that does make a lot of sense. One thing, so after, for whatever reason, the Zoom gods decided not to mute you as much when you were like, oh, you want to sound like a villain, and then you did this, and it had that like looser tissue rigidity that we often associate with false chord, that rumbly like that sort of sort of sound. It definitely did have that. And then later on, when you tilted into it, interestingly enough, you tilt down a lot, which is neither here nor there. I'm talking more like aim necessarily than the actual posture they had. But then the tissue rigidity increased, and I don't have any data to support this. This is just my anecdotal experience from teaching people. I have often noticed that people who start with styles that require a tighter closure of the tissues above the vocal cords, which often get put into fried territory, which is fine.
Yep. Will
then learn false chord and include some of that tissue rigidity, right? And that's where we get those tighter sounds. Like if you have really loose stuff, like I use like a lot of for like my low vocals. If I do them really quiet, like I'm not even leaning into it, it's like this, which that sound has changed over time. That's a whole nother video. But if I increase that tissue rigidity and that pressure, like then it gets, you know, and so that tissue rigidity, and that's another thing that I think sometimes gets lost in the nuance of is it false chord or fry 2 is because sometimes it's not even about which bits you're using. It's about the rigidity of those bits. And feel free to make a dirty joke in the comments below. You know what I mean?
It's so funny you say that, dude, because like your tone with the like lack of tissue rigidity. Again, another term I'm just hearing for the first time today is like, I find it more like unnatural just for me to do the first thing you were doing, because you're right, going from the older thing, I want to keep it more rigid. I guess my body just automatically like it defaults to that. But yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. That makes a lot of sense because I feel like that kind of vocalist sometimes where it's like I can't help but apply some of the older framework to the false chord, whatever the hell I'm doing now.
Sure.
Yeah. So there could be more data than we think to support that.
Well, and the thing about it too is that it's also it's not that higher tissue rigidity is bad and lower tissue rigidity is better. It's all about it's just all about balance, man. It's all about balance. Yep. How are you regulating the pressure of the air underneath whatever you're using to create the sound, your vocal folds, your super loud, it doesn't matter, right? And so sometimes people they'll be like, oh, and this is, sometimes I'll go back and I'll see, or like I'll watch an older video, just to see how things have changed or whatever. And I will wish I could go back and say things a little bit differently when I first started, because oftentimes you'll hear, not as much now, but back then you would hear people, you should be totally relaxed. You should be totally relaxed in the muscles that you're not using, and you should be only as engaged as you need to be in the muscles that you are. Yeah. But when I do something like like there's a lot of closure there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's cool that you're starting to do both, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound like you're abandoning the old stuff. You're just trying to maybe change what your default is a little bit for more endurance on stage.
Big time. I want to go back to what you said kind of at the start, where it was like these are all ingredients, right? Now I don't think I've found I haven't quite hit the finish line. I don't know if I will. I hope I don't find the finish line for where like, cool, I'm done learning how to do different things or whatever. I'm always I think that's the thing that makes all of these records so different. Is I'm always kind of evolving as a vocalist for various reasons, like endurance on stage or whatever, or just to see if like straight up there are some things that I can do with the false chord that I think are way more disgusting than some of the older things. But wouldn't ever abandon them. I mean, I get to a studio or whatever, and like for example, like a good tunnel throat, like high thing. I don't know how well like you're going to be able to hear that. If it's going to cut out, who knows? It was there a little bit. A little bit, That's that's super quiet to me, but that's an older thing that like for some reason falls out of me a lot easier. So I'll always throw that into the mix on some of these records, while simultaneously going like, I wonder what that would sound like eventually when I wrap my head around the false chord version of that. You know what I mean? So
sure. Yeah. I totally forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry, bro.
No, it's okay. No, it's not your fault. I was trying to like decode. I was trying to like keep what you did in like the echo part of my like short-term memory.
Right.
But kind of building on that, I think I'm a very big path of least resistance vocalist. Sometimes. I'll be on a call or I'll be interviewing a vocalist and they're like, yeah, like I just always want to, I want to know every technique out there. I want to learn how to do everything. And I'm like, you're better than me. Because for me, like my whole vocal career, so much of what I've learned to do has been paired with complaining and grumbling because, Nico will write this riff and I'm like, well, I guess I got to learn how to do this stupid new pitch scream because, and they're like, well, I'll change it. I'm like, no, it's a banging riff. I just have to learn. So I'm like, God damn it. And I learned how to do this pitch thing. And I'm like, oh, because I'm lazy, man. It's just the truth. So whenever I meet a vocalist such as yourself that's so excited, you know, and that's not true all the time, but there is certainly an element of what I've learned how to do that I just was like, boo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man, it's funny you say that with the pitch stuff. Yeah, because that's like, that was something that I'd hear and go like, I guess in like, the biggest example would be like Architects, right? As a
yeah,
you know, and just hearing what Sam can do with that range and how he'd go from like, so I don't know, it's almost like he learned that, like that was the bass Architects tone for a while. Then almost seemed like he took his foot off the pedal a bit, and then beautiful clean vocals came out. Like I don't know, I could be completely wrong or whatever, but it sounded like that was always there. And then just like taking the pitch out of it was like you're left with a crazy chorus voice, you know what I mean? That like but I would, and the Cattle is another good example where I'd hear what Travis was doing and go like, oh man, like I have to figure that out, like, or I have to try to wrap my head around like what my version of that would be. So yeah, I think that's the cool thing about deathcore is like, and that's the thing I'll pay the Vocal Olympics thing for, is like, man, it's at least if you don't hear some of that shit and then go like, you know what, like, fuck, it ain't that great, I'm gonna try and do it myself, then like I don't know like why you talking shit on it, you know what I mean? It's like I get when people don't like listening to it or whatever, but for the like as a toolbox for vocals and whatever, I really think it's cool. Like there's you know, thoughts on like fucking CJ Immortal Disfigurement or whatever aside, like I heard something come out of that band the other day and I was like, oh, what the fuck, like what the fuck. That's
sure.
almost like a new version of that like cricket sound that
I'm not even gonna try it.
Like it's dude, what some of these kids are doing these days as well is just fucking blowing my mind. Proper just sounds like the noise that would come out of a mummy that just got out of a tomb after like 1,000 years, and it's like a voice just cracking open. I don't know. So it's like I hear some things like that and go like, you know what? I don't know if I'll try it. Who knows? Maybe I'll get there one day, because I'm evolving quicker than I thought I would, and like getting more in the toolbox than I ever thought I would. But like, there's still things I hear and go like, fuck, man, that's a whole other, like, I just relearned vocals. It feels like that would require doing it a third time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you know, and it's in those moments where I think it's best to look at our vocal journey less as like, you know, are you much of a gamer at all? I was about to use a bunch of gaming terms. Okay. Thinking of our vocal journey less as like a roguelite, where, you know, you just do the run over and over and over and over and over again, and more as like a Skyrim, where like I was just talking with one of my students about this, and they were like, we were talking about, now I'm a noob, I've only put like 260 hours into Skyrim, so that's nothing, those are baby numbers. But they were like, what did you think of the ending? And I was like, I don't know, I've never beaten it, I have no idea. Well, I usually get to Whiterun and then just fuck off for you know, for, I mean, like 40 or 50 hours, you know.
That's funny, man. I've done that many other playthroughs of Skyrim that I wouldn't even remember what the ending was like, because I've just made my own fucking endings of it. Like, I'm way more of a Fallout guy. Well, that's a lie. But big Fallout fan. So like, I could talk to you about the endings of those games who are blue in the face. But like, yeah, it's funny you say that about the RPG thing. Sorry to cut you off as well, but yeah, like you level up and you can pick one skill to throw in there, and it's not like you can get to level 100 or whatever and have all this. I mean, you could. It'll take you a fucking while, and you'd probably be exploiting somewhere along the way to get. You know what I mean? Because obviously, just to stay with this, you know, you get to level 50. It takes a lot longer to get to level 51 than it does to get from like 1 to 2, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can only you got to pick what skills you really grab and yeah.
And, at the same time, too, it's like, it's non-linear. You can go left for as long as you want, and then you can go north, and then you can left and north. I'm firing myself. I'm firing myself. But, and that's kind of what I try to tell them. I'm like, listen, like when you learn something new, you're not starting over. You're just you're opening a new door to a dungeon. You found you found a new sword, and I don't remember the verbal cue in Skyrim, but it's like another hand picks up the sword of whatever. You know what I mean? So that makes a lot of sense, and that's something I try to tell my students, like, hey, it's not linear, right? Let's keep going with this track though, because we've got about a third of it left. I'm kind of excited to see what we get. So allora, here we go. Oh.
I'm realizing now that might not have been the most exciting there's none of the dirty bits that make you face go like what the fuck, but I still feel like that was that's the strongest example, at least on this recent record, of the false chord showcase. So
well, I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. And I think one thing, this isn't necessarily about anything in particular, but it's just an observation. I think you were talking about trying not to fit too much into like the I think you said arena deathcore perhaps sound. And I think one of the main things that separates y'all from that isn't just the writing, but it's also just the sound of your music. Like a lot of, and people sometimes say it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. A lot of deathcore these days is very clean. It's which is interesting. It's metal and it's harsh, but it's very clean. It's very surgical. And I feel like y'all's music has a little bit of like, you can hear a sort of legacy of like, I'm not calling you a grind band, but like some of that dirtiness, right? Like I feel like if I had to describe your especially the song, but your music to somebody who doesn't listen to metal, I'd say like, imagine I have a piece of metal on the ground, and I sprinkle sand on it, and then I put another piece of metal on top of it, and then I pull it. Just like this gritty, like
oddly accurate.
Just like this grindy, dirty sound. And I think a lot of your vocal style makes sense in that, with that, because you'll do a lot of these like, very like muffly types of sounds. And then you're doing a lot of like pukey, especially there in the end, like a lot of more open, like maybe your teeth are showing. I don't know. I'm not in there in the studio with you, but a lot of this more sort of sounds. And there's a lot of open, close going on. So, I think one of the things I've got like 4 questions. You know what? I'm going to ask you. This is what I do when I have too many questions and I'm not sure which one to ask, because I want to ask about the curled in stuff. I want to ask the muscle stuff. I want to ask about the high stuff. that intro, that section that we listened to, what do you think is the most interesting or the thing that you'd like to point out the most as the person who wrote and recorded the vocals and performed?
In terms of the when it starts to get like heavy, is what you're saying? Or
anything you did, that last part of a section is they're like, ooh, that's a really cool guttural, or ooh, that's a really cool high. And if you're like, I don't know, I will happily pepper you with questions. But I'm also kind of, I think another thing that's interesting about these videos is that learning about not just what technique you use or what it feels like, but what you value as a vocalist. Yep. So if you were to take that and point out what you think the coolest bits are, what would those coolest bits be?
Sure. To me, the thing that stands out about like specifically that song is it's almost like there's a lot of that voicey, like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? That
yeah, totally.
That mid-range, again, for lack of a better term, almost metalcore standardized kind of vocal tone. But the fun thing that I like about this song, and that I'm gonna have a lot of fun exploring in other songs, is like, you know, I can go either way. I feel like with that, where there's an older song, Dead Wrong, came out on the record before that, where it's I go from that to almost more of a, like, from that mid-range to more of a singy, a singing thing, or with that same bass level, like in this song specifically, can stretch it out to a pig squeal, can, like, you know, open my mouth a bit wider and get way more of a high scream.
That's what I was going to ask you about. Yeah. That sort of movement, because I don't want to derail you, but that's
no, of course,
that moving from muffled to open. That's you know, and it may not feel this way to you, or maybe it does because you've been doing this for a while. That's a very difficult movement for a lot of vocalists to make. Curled in and deep and dark, and then opened up and brightened. And you do it a lot. You're back and forth in that portion of the song. And so I'm listening to it and I'm like, that's one of the things that, like, new and intermediate vocalists really have trouble with. And you're doing it pretty easily. Is that something that took you some time to build, or is that pretty standard?
Definitely. I think like, when did I record this song? It would have been the start of this year, I feel like. And kind of goes back to what I said before, where it's like I do a lot of my experimentation in the studio, like almost under the pressure. Like, we got a couple of my bandmates there just going like, yeah, fuck, man, I don't know, like, try this, try and, like, you know, picture this band or that band. What would this vocalist do in this situation? And it's like, obviously you can only get your version of that down, but yeah, like, it's definitely, and I hate, because it sounds like a brag, but it's not. It's just like, I'm pretty proud of the accomplishment of the fact that, like, that does fall out of me a lot easier. And
sure, yeah,
in songs like this, like, I didn't realize it until I got to the studio, and it's like, man, next time we should write something where it, like, the music kind of is ready for stuff like that, ready for, like, you know what I mean? We can write really low chuggy sections, expand them out really quickly into, like, a more melodic section, and have it so that you can hear my voice go from the, like all the way out. Like, it's gonna be hard to do here, because that I feel like, you know, if you were just doing false chords, and I'm probably going to butcher all of this, but, like, it's just my understanding of it, right? Like,
sure,
if you're doing that standard false chord thing that we were talking about earlier, where it's like black tonguey, like, going from just that to the mid-range thing, near impossible for me, unless I put, like, that 60% of volume and power behind it, which, like, I feel like starts in my chest and
sure,
things like that. So, but yeah, once I'm there, once I'm at the, like you can, and I've put enough power into it, I can, you know, how do I say it? It's like feels like a gun that's firing. I don't know, for lack of a better metaphor, like a gun that's firing, and I've got this big glove that I can keep switching the front attachment on to make it, like, louder, without the gun stopping firing. I don't know how else to explain that. Like,
yeah. I mean, what you're describing is it makes a lot of sense. Essentially, when we have a steady, even airflow through managed pressure, it's easier to change the mouth shape, the filter that we're moving through, and that's
a way
just
simpler way of saying everything I just tried to say. Yeah.
That's just good breath support. When we're doing a lot of these vocals, especially these like really powerful projected ones, one thing, I did not come up with this, but one thing I read online many moons ago is that it almost feels like we're holding our breath with intention, not necessarily like right, but we have like these, we're making these, it doesn't feel like breathing out. It feels like holding our breath with intention.
Almost like a reserve of air that's like
entirely. Now, I hate to be abrupt, but I just realized we've been on for exactly an hour, and if I don't leave soon, daycare is going to close. So I usually get my son pretty close to close anyway. He goes in a little bit later because everything, but
of course.
So I don't want to be that dad where they're like, where are you? No,
of course, man, of course.
We'll just have to. There's so much more I want to talk about, and I wish we had the time. But you know what? You'll have to do that one take. You got to do that one take now, bro.
I
do
really
that one
do.
take, and then I'll have you on. We'll talk about it.
Straight up, we'll do that, and I'll like in the middle of moving houses. So my PC with my like, where I've got a little like stand for this, that's all coming with me. So like maybe the next time we do one of these, I'll actually be able to throw more into the breakdown to, you know what I mean? And for the hour or whatever that we do it, I will not give a fuck about doing. It's just if I'm doing loud shit now and you can't even hear it, it's like, what's the fucking point? So
there's no use bugging your neighbors. Before I let you go, I'm going to tell you something absolutely, totally non-related and not even that interesting, but I'm going to tell you it anyway.
Let's go.
So I am by no means a language expert or a linguist or anything like that, but you're the first Aussie to say moving houses versus moving house.
No way, really.
Yeah, I've had a lot of students in Australia. If I heard you say he was in the hospital, I'd be like, who are you? Because y'all always say in hospital, and so that's just something I noticed. I was like, whoa, he said moving houses versus moving house.
I feel like I would say in the hospital, but just fuck.
It's what it's almost like Australia's a big country with regional differences in the way they speak, and I'm a noob and oversimplifying. You know what I mean?
You're spot on about that though, man. Like I moved we're pretty far. I won't keep you too long. Where like our states are a lot further apart than like the States, for example.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's not until you get down, like I'm in Melbourne now. I was in Sydney, and just hearing like people say things a lot differently, way more differently than you'd think. Like just being outside the country, it's easy to go like, yeah, Australia has the whole like g'day mate vibe across the board. But nah, man, like I can't understand some of these people. Like, and we're speaking the same language, same accent. It's just the little inflections, the way they say words and the way they like, even I don't know, moving house, how that sounds weird to you. There are other things that sound weird to me that might not even be understandable to people outside Australia, but like, it's a thing.
Oh, dude, like it I've been to, most of my family lives in the South, and there have been a couple times I go to the South and, you're driving through and you stop in a really tiny little town, and I go into like, it's the one corner store. There's one corner store in the whole place, and it's their grocery store, and they're, and I walk in there and they say like 4 or 5 sentences to me, and I'm just like, all right, because I don't know what the fuck you just said. It sounds like Boomhauer from Where's Something Bound to Be, and I'm just like, I'm sure whatever you said was awesome. But anyways, man, I appreciate you being here again. I'm sorry we do have to cut it short, but I gotta go be a good dad.
Dad duty, man, of course.
But if you do that one take, man, let me know, and we'll have you on the channel, and we'll try to reserve a little bit more time to talk about it and dig into it. But
beautiful, man. Like, yeah.
No. I was actually about to say any last things you want to mention. So I was going to hand the conversation over to you anyway, bro.
Oh man, I was just going to say quickly, I know you work with my time. I'm very thankful for that. I'm sure it's late in the arvo for you over there. Is it?
5:30.
Yeah,
it's not terrible.
still, like, so happy to jump on a little earlier. Next time I'll have my setup a little more ready for something like this. And yeah, we can definitely get a bit deeper into it. But yeah, man, thank you to everybody that's tuned in. Thank you to a big thanks to you for breaking down Ecocide, man. I have people talk to me about that all the time. And
I mean, you're welcome. I've gone back and watched that video before, and I've kind of been like, I don't know if I did that good of it. I think I could have explained this better. I think I, knowing what I know now, I kind of wish I'd said that differently, or that might not have been super correct.
No, man. Sorry, just quickly, as I was already a fan of the channel, not ever expecting anybody to give a fuck about the band, right? We're just going to be another band in that, like, we just did it because we do it because we love this. Like, we want to. Seeing you break it down was a bit of like oh shit, this is reaching like further than I ever thought it would, and to people that I look up to. So like that was a big thing for me. So thank you to all the viewers, and especially everyone, all of your students. You said that have the mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Super cool. Like, pinch myself at every moment of this journey, bro. So like that's another thing that just spins me out. So thank you.
Hell yeah. Well, to anybody who's watching, thank you. Appreciate it. Go listen to the New to the Grave. Many thanks. Much love. We're out.
Thank you.